street's gonna be on. We might as well call it off. And they were waiting for me. You make a wrong move, take out the wrong person, steal somebody's stash, don't cut somebody in, and they're gonna get you. They're the kind of people that one mistake is just one too many. They gathered around. There was only one guy I could trust, and so I turned around and called his name, but I hit the floor. I couldn't breathe. Finally, I grasped some air into my lungs and pulled myself up into the chair. I looked over and the door was only a few yards away, but it seemed I'd never make it out. It was like I was on some kind of wild exhibition ride. The floor seemed to be coming up, the ceiling was coming down, the walls was coming in. I thought I'll never make it, but I've got to try, and I pushed myself out of the chair and started for the door. I grabbed the door and opened it. I got out in the hallway and felt a release. I head for the stairs. The stairs was moving and I plunged down the stairs. I hit the landing. I pulled myself up on the railing. I tried to move, but my right side was paralyzed. I bent over to grab my leg and it just fell like a piece of wood down to the next step. I finally went to stand up straight and it seemed as though someone had sewn my insides together. And as though they were ripping apart, I unzippered my winter jacket and there the blood was oozing through my belt loops. I undid my jeans and lifted up my shirt and I was stabbed with a butcher knife in my lower abdomen to the center of my backbone. And my insides and blood just literally fell out into my hands. I lost over 4 liters of blood in just a matter of so many minutes. To make a long story short, I finally made it to the hospital before they blew my head off, or tried to blow my head off that same night. I was on my bed or back for about 6 weeks. And finally, the last time I was released from the hospital, I weighed 118 pounds. From doing drugs so heavy and then getting stabbed, I walked out of that hospital like a walking corpse. I stayed at home. I wouldn't take any kind of pills, aspirins, 292s or nothing. My parents were with me at all the time, but 10 days later, I was home alone. Another afternoon I'll never forget. I was sitting there watching a bit of television. I wouldn't do nothing but just sip a little bit of fruit juice. I was so skinny I couldn't sit down for more 4 or 5 minutes. Felt like the bones are going to poke right through my skin. But that afternoon, as I sat on the couch, I heard something. I reached over and pulled the curtains open and looked across the street. And there a carload of my buddies, thugs, came. But they never came to do nothing but finish me off. I couldn't run. If I ran to another city, they'd be there before I got there. I had to end it. I stood to my feet and slipped on my green sweatshirt and started for the door. My hand reached the handle of the door and I turned to say to the empty, silent house, "Well, thanks." I thought maybe when my parents came home, they'd at least know. I said thanks. I started out the door. As I started across that asphalt street, I wondered if I'd hear a machine spray me full of lead or feel that asphalt crash up beneath my feet.